Welcome. It's your man God of Dots back with more NFL breakdown. It's the Audible, your favorite sports show. Hell of a day. How you doing, Miss Murr? Hell of a day. Where do we start? Got some head coaching news. We'll start that out, and then we get into a breakdown of the division round games going on this weekend. Is we're down final four in each conference. We'll do a detailed analysis and breakdown, and I give my predictions. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, depending on who it is. Um, and then we'll get up on out of here. Like I said, hope everybody's had a good week. Hell of a day though. Hell of a day. All right, where do we start? We'll start with the head coaching news. Near and dear to me. How you doing, Dr. Nikki? Near and dear to me. Dallas Cowboys Jerry Jones, owner, has come out and publicly backed Mike McCarthy and said he will be returning next year as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not sure how I feel about that as a Cowboys fan. Bringing back Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy still has still in your feelings. I moved on. I moved on. But I'm not sure about bringing Mike McCarthy back. If you caught the Tuesday show, I talked about it's a culture change needs to kind of happen. Mike McCarthy, I think, did a pretty good job, all things considered, with the play calling this year, taking over play calling duties for the departed Kellen Moore, who went and ruined Justin Herbert's season, much like he'd been doing for Dak. But Mike McCarthy did a very good job play calling the offense. There is championship level talent with the Cowboys, and I understand Jerry wanted to go with some sense of continuity. Mike McCarthy, he did an okay job. But when your expectations for as a Cowboys fan, Super Bowl or bust, and when you fall vastly below those expectations, I got a question. And I was questioning whether Mike McCarthy was going to be back. Like I said, Jerry Jones has come out and said Mike McCarthy will be back as the head coach. Like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I know players came out and publicly supported him, talking about how he cared about their well-being and their health, which is it's a good thing. I'm not going to say that's not a good thing. But I think next season, from Mike McCarthy on down, as far as the rest of his coaching staff, whoever that might be, I know Dan Quinn is currently interviewing for head coaching jobs, possibly around the league. He may be moving on as to a head coaching position, but I think you have to bring in a higher level of accountability into that locker room, and it has to come out onto the field. For a team to go out in a manner in which they did, probably the only performance that was worse this past wild card weekend was the Philadelphia Eagles and the way they quit. But for the Cowboys to come out there and not play with a sense of urgency, not playing with a sense of accountability, just kind of like going through the motions, like it was a regular season game. And this is a playoff game. You have an opportunity to have possibly two home games during this run. It did happen, and I didn't like the body language. I didn't like what I was seeing out there on the field, and I've seen it throughout the course of the season. Even though when they're good, I'm singing their praises, but when they're bad, I'll critique them. Honestly, I'm a fan, but when I'm in this chair doing this show, I'm an analyst, and I got to call it like I call it. So we'll see. Mike McCarthy, like I said, Mike McCarthy will be back next season. Also in head coaching news, Mike Tomlin has pretty much confirmed that he will be back next season to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's already kind of leaked it out there that they're in negotiations for a contract extension. He said he's fired up and he's ready to go. And that'll be a good move. Pittsburgh historically has not really moved on from head coaches like that. Typically, if you see a head coaching change in Pittsburgh, that means somebody has retired from the game of football. But Mike Tomlin coming back, I think he did a real good job considering the challenges that Pittsburgh had, especially on the offensive side of the ball with injuries to key players at different times of the season. So I think, and Mike Tomlin is not known for having losing seasons. Despite Pittsburgh, when you look at them on paper, don't match up with the better teams in the AFC for them to go out there and push this team into the playoffs. If he wanted to come back, if you wanted to retire, I think he's earned that choice. It's like I said, Mike Tomlin will be back as head coach next year of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, as we move on, and we're going to start doing a detailed breakdown of this weekend's upcoming games, it is some intriguing matchups. And it's some teams are coming in off of bye. When I'm talking about off of bye, I'm talking about the 49ers and the Ravens, due to them being the number one seed, had a bye last week, didn't play. We're going to see what they look like coming back off of basically a 2-week break. Both teams didn't really play a lot of the starters in the last game of the season, so guys have had a chance to get refreshed and all that. But sometimes when you have teams coming off a bye, they tend to be a little rusty. If you remember early in the season when the Baltimore Ravens came back off their bye, I want to say they played the Rams and struggled in that one. Granted, the Rams are a good team, but it's one thing when you get a bye early in the season. When we're talking about later in the season, especially getting the first round bye for the playoffs, you want guys, once they're in rhythm, you hopefully you can try to keep them in rhythm, but it's kind of hard to do that when they don't have a game that week. It's kind of hard to kind of keep guys in rhythm. Thankfully, for both of these teams, they got head coaches who know how to navigate those waters as far as keeping the team ready and keeping the team focused. But will it be enough? We're going to start with the Saturday game, the early game. You got Texans going to the Ravens. Ravens, number one seed in the AFC, have looked strong, have looked like the best team in the NFL from top to bottom, have possibly the MVP in Lamar Jackson. At the quarterback position, offense has made strides throughout the year, has gotten better throughout the year. The defense also has gotten better, and that is a scary thing. That is a scary thing when Baltimore is clicking on all cylinders. I don't think any team can compete with them, but there have been games and have been moments when this team has not been clicking, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Will Lamar Jackson be able to stay in rhythm against a very good Texans defense? I think people are really starting to look at the Texans and the job that DeMeco Ryans has done as the head coach, changing the culture in Houston. I think people are really starting to give him credit for bringing in that defensive mentality he had as a player and also as an defensive coordinator. Last year he was coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. But this is, I think it's going to be a much closer game than a lot of people think. CJ Stroud, who in my mind is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't, only outside chance of him losing that is to Puka Nacua, who had a fantastic season at wide receiver. But I think this game is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. I didn't have a lot of faith in the Texans doing the job that they did against Cleveland. But, with this game, if the Texans think they're going to be able to play the same type of defense and get the same kind of results against the Baltimore Ravens, you might be sadly mistaken. This is a different animal in which you're playing. And if you watch the Browns-Texans game, yes, it ended up getting out of hand. But when you go back and actually look at the game, and you actually look at the final box score of that game, Cleveland was moving the ball pretty efficiently up and down the field for large stretches of the game. I want to say they had time of possession, about 11 to 12 minutes more on time of possession. So they was able to keep the ball, keep drives going. It's just that they had killer turnovers, killer interception, killer pick sixes. They kind of skewed that game up. It really changed that game. It's one thing to get turnovers on the team, but it's another thing when you immediately turn those turnovers into points. But I think this game is going to be much closer than a lot of people may think. I know, I'm gonna pick Ravens. One, because they're at home. Two, I think the defense is going to do a much better job than Cleveland did in getting after CJ Stroud. I think they're going to cause them some problems. It's a similar defensive style to Cleveland when I'm talking about as far as flying to the football and that kind of stuff. But I think Baltimore does it at a much different level. One thing about Baltimore, especially this year, they're able to generate a lot of pressure up the middle. Not Jason, excuse me, Justin Matabuke, all pro defensive tackle. I think he ended up with like 12 to 13 sacks at the defensive tackle position. So they're able to generate pressure with just the defensive line. But one thing we know about Baltimore is they're going to blitz. They're going to play a lot of man. It's going to be incumbent on Nico Collins to go out there and beat that man coverage. But it's going to be a tall task. Baltimore is a different animal, and it's hopefully. If you're a Texans fans, you can kind of catch them slipping early. I think the first quarter is really going to set the tone for what kind of game we're going to get. If Baltimore is able to kind of move up and down the field at ease, it's going to be a long day for the Texans. I do expect the Baltimore defense to do a much better job of getting after CJ Stroud. I think the run game is going to be very important for the Texans to kind of keep that pass rush, that blitzing that Baltimore is known to do, keep them at bay as best as possible. And I think the Texans could benefit from a bit of a ball control type offense in this game. Limit the amount of touches that Lamar Jackson that offense gets. If you're doing a lot of 3 and outs, that's a lot of too many opportunities to give to a very good team. I think if Houston is able to kind of control time of possession, keep drives going, get the run game going, keep that Baltimore defense on the field, they can be had. And it's some of the similar strategies that the Rams had when they played them and they almost beat them up in Baltimore. You have that same strategy, get a good run game going, keep the ball, keep drives going, do not turn the ball over, and make Lamar Jackson beat you. Now, Lamar Jackson is more than capable of beating the Texans. But if I'm the Texans, hey, I'm playing more of a I'll probably play more of a soft shell type defense. I want Lamar Jackson to beat me with his arm. If you allow Lamar Jackson to roll out, get the play action going, get that RPO going, get the QB design runs going, it's going to be a long day for the Texans. If you got to limit Lamar, you got to kind of keep him in the backfield, keep him where he is not much of a threat. He's still a good quarterback throwing the ball, but I much rather him throw the ball to beat me than having a mix of run and pass to beat me. But with all that being said, I got Baltimore in this one. I think Baltimore holds serve at home. I think it's going to be a much closer game than a lot of people, a lot of pundits are kind of predicting. I don't think I've heard anybody picking the Texans. And rightfully so, but I think it's going to be a much closer game than a lot of people think. But I got the Ravens pulling it out in the fourth quarter. But the first quarter for me is going to be like, who's going to set the tone for what kind of game we're going to get. And I think Baltimore is going to be the one to kind of set the tone. But I may be right, I may be wrong, but we'll see. That is the early game on Saturday. The night game, you got Packers and 49ers. Packers coming off a literal beatdown of the number 2 seed Dallas Cowboys. Some of the same things I talked about the Packers giving Dallas problems with. You can do that to this San Francisco 49ers defense, even though this defense is one of the top tier defenses in the league, a team that is able to generate a very solid pass rush with just a front four. But the Packers showed, and I talked about this before the Cowboys game. Now, I don't know how many people were listening to me, but the Packers are a very good offense, and they're clicking at the right time. The run game gets going, and one thing about their run game, they are consistent with keeping the run. Even if they're up, even if they're down, they make sure that run game is a part of what they do. Aaron Jones had a very good game last week against the Cowboys, and if Green Bay, it's another one of those games. First quarter is going to kind of set the tone. If Green Bay is able to kind of get that run game going, that makes life easier for Jordan Love. And if you're going to attack the San Francisco 49ers defense, you don't really go after the front four like that. You don't go after that linebacker core who, we were talking about Greenlaw and Fred Warner and that. If you're going to have a lot of success against the 49ers, you got to attack at that secondary. That secondary can be had. You can make plays. They've had some injuries, some big-time injuries, especially at the safety position this year. And like I said, if they make the game simple for Jordan Love, get the run game going, get Aaron Jones going. I think AJ Dillon may or may not be back for this game. I I think Christian Watson may be back for this game. Green Bay has the speed on the outside to challenge that secondary for the 49ers. If that offensive line kind of holds up, give Jordan Love some of the same looks that he got last week against the Cowboys, San Francisco might be in trouble. Out of the number one seeds between Baltimore and San Francisco, San Francisco to me is the weaker of the two because I think it's just a slight talent edge to the Ravens. But the 49ers are at home. 49ers have something to prove. Still have that stuck into their craw from last year. They felt like, hey, if we'd had a healthy quarterback, we'd have been a team representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. And who am I to argue based off the season that they had? But I think this is going to be one of those games where, winner of the first quarter, whoever has the lead after the first quarter for me is going to win, because that means that team has been able to set the tone. The problem that Green Bay is going to have that they didn't have when they was playing the Cowboys. Cowboys have weapons on the outside. I'm talking about Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, and they have a pretty good tight end in Ferguson. 49ers have that in abundance at other positions. Christian McCaffrey is going to be very big for this team as far as like setting the tone for the run, getting out there in the screen game, getting out there, drawing a linebacker out there when he splits out wide at receiver. George Kittle is an upgrade as far as talent is concerned over Ferguson. And though Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are not the receiver that CeeDee Lamb is, both of them have a very different skill set that is hard to manage. Deebo Samuel is very good with yards after the catch. Brandon Ayuk has shown this year that he is one of the better route runners in the league. If you're not, I think the Packers are going to have to really try to get some pressure up on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is probably the weakest link along the offense, and after the year that he's had, I don't know how weak of a link that is. Had one of the better passing numbers throughout the year. Better, I think he had led the league in completion percentage. If you allow to Brock Purdy to kind of sit back there and pick his poison, which weapon he wants to use, it's going to be a long day for Green Bay. But I think Green Bay may be up to the challenge. I mean, this is I wouldn't put any money on this because this for me. It could be a toss up because I know how good Green Bay has been coming down the stretch. San Francisco has took the foot off the gas a little bit coming down the stretch of the season. Will it be a little bit of rust in there? I'm not sure. I expect a little bit of rust considering, like I said, they just like Baltimore really hasn't played a full on competitive game in a couple of weeks. I think it will be a little bit of rust. Green Bay comes in much with the same expectations that they had in Dallas. I don't, nobody's really expecting them to go in there to San Francisco and take care of business. But be on the lookout for Jordan Love. If Green Bay is able to get that run game going, San Francisco could find themselves much in the same trouble that the Cowboys find themselves in when it's hard to start that run game for Green Bay. Green Bay does a very good job. Jordan Love does a very good job with the play action passing. That makes it easier for him, and they got speed at the. I know a lot of people haven't been watching Green Bay, but they got a lot of speed at the wide receiver position. And you talking about possibly the return of Christian Watson, who was the number one receiver for this team for the majority of the season. You have Romeo Doubs on the outside. It is a lot of speed on the outside, and if you allow Jordan Love to sit back there and pick you off, as he's shown throughout this season, ended up second in touchdown passes. He can get the job done. So I'm very much looking forward to this Green Bay San Francisco game. I'm like I said, I'm curious to see who sets the tone in the first quarter. If San Francisco is able to just move the ball up and down the field, it'll be a long night for that Packers defense. But if Green Bay is able to set the tone, control time of possession, run game is going like it was against Dallas, the Packers might be moving on to the NFC Championship game. And I'm gonna, now I have my reach pick, and this is probably my reach pick. I got Packers. I got Packers. I like how they, especially the second half of the season. I like how well this offense has looked. This defense. A lot of people don't talk about it, but it's a very good defense, especially when we're talking about the back end and that secondary with Jair Alexander and the boys. I got Packers. I got Packers. I think this 49ers kind of start slow. And by the time they get into a real rhythm of the game, Green Bay is going to have that run game going and can control time possession. I got Packers. I got Packers over the 49ers this Saturday. You know, I got, like I said, I got Packers. I got Packers. Moving on to the Sunday slate, you got Buccaneers and Lions. They played earlier this season, a very good game from earlier this season. Detroit ended up winning, but it took a lot of effort for them to come back. And I'm not sleeping on Tampa Bay. I'm not sleeping on Tampa Bay. Yes, you beat up a Philadelphia team who did not want to even be out there on the field with you, did not want no smoke with anybody. Um, so I'm not putting too much stock into last week's games, but Baker Mayfield, when he's right, he does have weapons on the outside. This team is able to move the ball. That has probably been the biggest issue with the Buccaneers is consistent offense. The defense, for the most part, has been consistent all through the season, all through the year. Todd Bowles, we know, is going to dial up the pressure. My concern with Detroit is, they're penchant to make mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. One of the most penalized teams in the league, and Jared Goff, he causes me concern because he'll put the ball in harm's way, and sometimes it comes back to bite him. And like I said, the Buccaneers have a very good defense that I don't think a lot of people have had a chance to watch because the team hasn't been that good, but the defense has been top tier all year. If Tampa Bay is able to put pressure and get Goff back there with the happy feet, and I've seen it time and time again this season when Detroit has kind of looked suspect to me. If Goff is not in control of his faculties and his decision making, can be kind of iffy. But I think Detroit takes care of business at home. I think they make just enough plays on the offensive side of the ball. And the thing, like I said, the thing that's been holding back the Buccaneers from being considered one of the better teams in the NFC throughout the year is how inconsistent this offense has been. Like you saw a team put up 30 plus points against, albeit a bad Philadelphia defense. But the same team the week prior only put up 9 points against the worst team in the league, Carolina Panthers. So this offense can be kind of hit or miss. Baker Mayfield can be kind of hit or miss when he's hitting, a very accurate quarterback, but when he ain't hitting, this offense is ugly to watch. It is ugly to watch. I expect Detroit to come out, set a fast pace, set the tone for this game. I expect Jared Goff to have a very good game. I'm not predicting no 400-yard game, but Jared Goff just keep it simple. Get it to Laporta, your tight end. Get it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Get that run game going with Gibbs and Montgomery. And I think Detroit, takes care of business at home. And that kind of shakes out. If I pick Packers, then that means Detroit will be hosting the NFC Championship game in their house the following week. But I got Lions. I just, something about Baker Mayfield and his level of consistency this year. I've seen it where he's been good, and I've seen it where it's been bad. But it's neither consistent either way. But if Buccaneers have a chance, the defense is going to have to make some plays, going to have to force some turnovers. Never. Let's see. Well, last game before I get my behind up out of here. You have Chiefs, Bills. This is turning into Patriots. I talked about this on Tuesday. This is turning into Patriots, Colts. Brady versus man, these teams just seem to keep finding each other in the playoffs. And every time that they get together, whether it be regular season or postseason, it is always must see TV. Chiefs coming off a big win at home in the freezing cold against a Dolphins team who, after the first half, act like they didn't want to be out there on the field in the cold anymore. Um, Taking their show on the road against a Buffalo team that looked pretty good against a albeit, outmatched Steelers team. But, like I said, typically you can kind of throw records out of the window. Um, it usually comes down to who has the ball last. In the last couple matchups, it's always kind of come down to who has the ball last. Team that has the ball last is typically the team that makes the game when they play, even though they played earlier this year. Kansas City, was unable to get the win due to, what was it, offensive penalty on Kadarius Toney? Yeah, that kind of ruined that game. But I got Buffalo at home. It's something about the Chiefs. Even though the defense has played good all year long, there's something about this Chiefs offense that's been kind of I'm not putting too much stock in them beating a Miami team because, like I said, it wasn't like they just rolled over Miami. Miami just kind of quit. I guess the cold weather finally got to them. The boys did not want to be out there on the field. I don't think that was a get right game for the Chiefs offense. I think Buffalo, understanding what's at stake in this game and want to get over the Chiefs hump. I think that has been, Patrick Mahomes has played the Tom Brady role in this relationship, and Josh Allen has played the Peyton Manning role. I think this is the year that Buffalo finally gets over the hump, beats Kansas City, take care of business at home, and move on to the AFC Championship. Like I said, Chiefs defense is going to give them a chance. Chiefs defense has been good all year. But the offense has been too inconsistent for me to pick them on the road in this particular matchup. And I think the Bills are coming in with something to prove. You got to get rid of that, monkey off your back, get rid of that boogeyman. And I think this is the year that they do it. I got Bills over Chiefs, and I think out of all the games on the schedule, there's a lot of good games on the schedule this weekend. Chiefs, Bills. This is something about when these two teams get together, man. It's like TV magic. You're going to see guys making plays. It's going to be good football, and it is typically drama filled. It usually comes down to who has the ball last. And I think that formula once again rears its ugly head in this one. And I think Buffalo closes it out on the last second scoring drive and take it home. Take it home. Speaking of taking it home, what would be? Well, I might be doing a show tomorrow over here. I might not. I do want to do an update on the Josh Giddey situation. Dive into that a little bit more because it's come out that Newport Police Department is not pursuing any charges on him. Basically, the alleged victim and her family have refused to cooperate with authorities, and they've kind of dropped it. And so Josh Giddey is out here doing his thing still. Albeit he never got suspended, he never got sit down, but that might be a topic of conversation for tomorrow if we do a show over here. Appreciate everybody for taking the time out to listen to little old me. Like I said, it's been a long long day. It's been a long day. I got some stuff to kind of work on. I'm working on stuff with the Good Brothers on the other another channel. I got a show I'll be doing on with the Good Brother Germ. I want to say it's tomorrow. I'm not sure. I gotta see what he got going on. But yeah, I'm working. Yeah, Miss Murphy. Yeah, Josh Giddey didn't they didn't send him home. They didn't, but Kyrie shares a tweet about a movie, and he's having to do jump through all kind of hoops. But like I said, that might be a topic of conversation for tomorrow. If we do a Freestyle Friday over here, I got to see what's going on, how my day kind of go, and then I'm working on some some other stuff. As always, like I said, thank you for taking time out to listen. Remember, like, share, subscribe, leave comments. And if you catch Gator Girl in the streets, just let her know I'm okay. My team lost. It's not the first time. It won't be the last time. I'm okay. She don't have to do a health and wellness check on me. But anyway, let me get my behind up out of here. And you offered the phrase that pays. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. and I'm out.